Hello, this is Luke, and we're back with another episode of building a self-hosted analytics service from scratch. And today we are going to do something I don't know what, actually. So let's just start by launching the app here. Take a look at where we're at. It takes a moment to compile. And log in. Okay. So here's our app. And last time, what we spent most of our time on was this events page, which, that was interesting. What just happened there? Oh, I must have clicked on the, okay, yeah. So in the events page, there's a variety of information you can see about each event, and then you can kind of click on these different elements like the user ID or I think the URL. Yeah. And it'll like filter based on those different elements. And you can also manually set the filters up here. There's probably some things we could do to this page still. Like UX things mostly. But I kind of want to take a break from doing that and think about some other things to do. So one of the things I was thinking about is as I was working on this page, I felt like I want more of a design system for this app. Because a lot of times when I'm trying to design a page, I'm making a lot of ad hoc decisions about like, oh, this component should look like this. And, you know, these table things should look like this. And the little badges should look like that. And an expanding thing should look like this, you know, whatever. And that, it makes it hard to move quickly when you're doing UX decisions. And it usually don't end up with a very unified feeling UX either. Like a UI that feels disconnected and busy, which I feel like is kind of where we've ended up on this page as well. So that's something that I'd like to improve, to actually build a more consistent design system, and we can use it on our other pages as well, potentially. But there are other things we could work on as well, probably. So let's take a look at our notes here. Okay, notes. So, you know, we have some to-dos here. A lot of these are older things at this point. Like some of these are from, 9 months ago. So I feel like it would behoove us to go through here and maybe organize it a little bit and maybe see if there's stuff that we actually want to do. And that could be kind of interesting and fun, right? Okay, so let's actually organize this a little bit. So I'm going to have a section for deployment to fly. Usually for my apps, I personally like to deploy them on fly.io. I think is what it is, fly.io. Maybe it's fly.com. I don't remember. For a couple reasons. One, it's pretty easy. All you really need is like a Docker file for your app, and you can push that and deploy it. And it'll create, these lightweight VMs for that Docker file in the cloud. It'll automatically provision HTTPS certificates and so on. So it makes it easy to deploy. Also, it's relatively cheap, especially because the apps can scale to 0, which means that the machine isn't running at all and you're not getting charged anything until an HTTP request comes in. The Fly load balancer will automatically scale up your machine to respond to that HTTP request, And then like an hour later or 5 minutes later or whatever, it'll scale it back down. So if your requests are intermittent, you might only be paying for half, a quarter, or less of uptime per month on your machine, which can be, sometimes it can be less than $1 a month to run one of these things, for example. In any case, a few of these tasks are related to Fly specifically, and I kind of want to split those out. So this is one. And this is one. And what else is one? That might be it for now. Okay. And then we'll also have a category here that's called like refactor code. I don't know, let's just call it refactoring. So the idea of refactoring is it's changes that are not affecting the functionality of your app. They're just affecting the way the code is structured. Usually you want to refactor when you're spending more time dealing with accidental complexity in your code than intrinsic complexity. When the complexity of your module setup not working quite right, or you have to add a lot of boilerplate, or you have to write a bunch of extra code because you're not using the right library or something like that. All those things, it's slowing you down enough that it's worthwhile to adjust your code, fix that issue so that you can move faster, or so that you can understand it better, which is also very important. But it's not something that the user necessarily sees. So test suites are also kind of an example of refactoring. I'm going to put this under the refactoring bucket. It's not exactly refactoring, but it serves the same purpose. It's a change that the user doesn't see, that's designed to speed you up as the programmer. Because with the more automated tests you have, the more you can make changes to your code base with confidence, right? So what other refactoring things do we have here? This one, I think, is refactoring. This one is refactoring. This one is refactoring. Yeah. Okay. So then we have some other things here that are related to testing edge cases, let's call it. I'm just kind of organizing these now. So test with multiple tabs, that's kind of an example of an edge case. This is an edge case. This, I don't really know what this even means. Test course headers, separate domains. I'm not sure what that means. I don't even know if that's even applicable anymore. But I'll just put it in here for now. Maybe that's it for edge cases. So then we have new features. So this one's done. So more flexible look back window chooser, that would be a good one to do. Let's add another one for fixes, I guess. Features / improvements. I feel like by organizing this, it'll just help us get a better handle on what work we actually need to do. And a lot of times the new features / improvements block, like there's always going to be more things that you can add there. So you kind of need to figure out where to draw the line. Whereas something like deployment to fly block, you kind of need to do that, but I'll do it only when I'm actually ready to deploy it. So this is kind of helping us organize these tasks in a way that's going to help us decide when and where to do them. This page, view individual events, that one's done, actually. And should I have a different section for done stuff? I don't know. It's kind of weird, but whatever. DB import, export, download, that's a new feature. These are done. Add SSE, that's a new feature. That would be a fun one to do. Tweak CN, that's a new feature, kind of. These done. And then geolocation based on IP address is a new feature as well. Okay. So that's kind of a little more organized now, right? Let's actually just commit this for now, update notes. So what do we actually want to work on today then? Let's also add a refactoring thing here for create design system. And I'm no designer. So honestly, I'm a bit afraid of that task, but it's good practice, so it's something that I'm definitely going to want to do. It'll just be a little bit slow going, I'm sure. So looking at this here, the better human readable view time rendering. Human readable view time rendering. What does that say? Oh, so that's referring to this like 65. That's like saying 65 seconds of view time, right? And you'll recall, if you were here the other day, that on this page, we added this function to allow it to render things like this, 1 minute, 28 seconds. That's what we mean by better human readable view time rendering. Instead of being 88, it says 1 minute, 28 seconds. So now that we already have that functionality, we probably should go ahead and pull that into our other page. The problem is, and the thing that's probably going to make me pull my hair out, is the charts that we're using, the ShadCN charts library. I find it really confusing sometimes how to actually do little nuanced changes like that. So, like, let's look at something like browser table. It's using this horizontal bar chart, which is the main component here that we're going to want to edit. And this upper one, the big chart, doesn't have any times on it at all. Right? So the way that this works is very confusing, to me anyway. But we have our bar, and like, let's look at browser table here. So the x-axis key is count. So that 65 is the count. And then the average time, I guess, is only actually visible in the tooltip. So we need to go into the tooltip, which we have this extra thing here. Let's see what this has to say for itself. So key average view time, label average time. And what is this average view time? So that's what I kind of thought. So we have this average view time expressed as a string here already, which is in this use chart data function, which is a little bit interesting, but fine. But what that means is I think we can take this and basically replace it with that function that we had, right? So let's, I guess we can just kind of erase it here. So we would do, let's go to our date utility library here. And we've got this short duration thing that accepts a start and an end. And we're going to have like something kind of like that. But instead of accepting a start and an end, it's just going to accept a number in milliseconds. And maybe I'll just call that short duration MS. And this will be like length or MS number. And then we will do start is 0 and end is MS. And I think that should be okay. Okay, one sec. I'm going to be right back. Okay, I'm back. You know, it's funny. I'm living in an apartment right now, and I've got this like apartment-sized washer and dryer. And it's really convenient to have it in my apartment instead of having to go to a laundromat or something. But the problem is I can't do really big loads at a time. And it takes it like a few hours between the washing and the drying because the dryer is not very efficient. And so it's almost like whenever I have free time, I'm needing to do laundry. So anyway, I've got laundry going on in the background right now that I have to move along every now and then. So the short duration MS thing, this, you know, we're actually looking at this now. I'm like, this is not right. We want to call the short duration function within this, right? So really this should be like return short duration 0 MS. Pretty simple. Arguably, it doesn't need to be a separate function, but I just kind of like having this as a separate function. Make it nice and clear how it works, just accepts a single number. So now if we go over here, this average view time is going to be short duration MS, average view time, like that. And then we just need to import this. And we could do the same thing here. And the same thing here. And I guess this would be data none dot average view time and data total dot average view time. Okay. So let's see what that looks like now. Refresh our page. So now you see we've got our 41 seconds average, and sometimes the average is more than 60 seconds, in which case we get a nicely formatted 1 minute, 7 seconds. So this is what we like to see. Let's go ahead and commit these changes. So update or use human readable duration for average view time. Okay. And I'll just not do that as part of that. Fine. And then for our notes, we can actually check that off. Better human readable view time rendering. That was an easy task because we had already built a function to do that for a different part of the site. Okay. What else do we want to do here? So I do want to do all of these. It's really just a question of order, except for maybe the geolocation. I'll put this in like a maybe bucket. And I'll put that in there too. So let's start with the DB import, export, download. I think that seems like a nice thing to have. And I feel like that's something I've done on a different app in the past. Is that right? Let me see. So we would be looking at not dust. Maybe webhook testing tool has this. I don't remember. The only reason I'm looking is because we could kind of like copy the code basically. Oops. Hooks. No. DB maybe. Controller. Export. Yeah, okay. This is kind of what I was looking for. So this is a pattern we can use in Bun to export our DB as a downloadable SQLite file. So I'm actually just going to kind of copy this and put it in our app, and I'll explain how it works a little bit here as well. So in our server, this would be, we could put it here. Doesn't really matter. API DB export, and we'll need to import this DB. New response. I feel like that's, I mean, there's a TypeScript error there, but I feel like that's going to work, right? Do I need to do like this? Response from Bun? Don't think so. Is there like a bun dot response? No. Okay. It's interesting. So this is returning an array buffer-like buffer. I feel like the response should theoretically be able to return a buffer, right? What is the type of body init here? How do I see that? Oh my goodness. Body init. Array buffer, blob data form. So, I mean, I feel like it should work. We'll have to try it out though. See if it works. Sometimes there's something where it's like these array buffer like versus like array buffer types. They're not like type compatible, but they seem to be interchangeable. I'm not really sure why, but whatever. So let's give this a shot. So the other thing we'll need to do here is make sure to add this require user session thing. Require user session request. And then we just return the response, and that should be fine. And then we're going to need to add a download button for this, which we'll probably do in the settings page here. So in settings, we've got our sites thing. Oh, I really don't need that in there. And I don't need that. And I kind of want to call this site settings. It seems like it's specifically the site settings at the moment. Right? Site settings. And we will rename this site settings. And then below that, we're going to have a divider. I don't know, maybe we don't need a divider. Let's just do a div. And then we're going to have like an export button situation here. And probably the way to do this, so let's actually look at the settings page here. So this is like our site settings section. And maybe we should have even like h1 sites, h1 export. And then we'll have, and I almost want to make these like cards. This is again an example where if I had a design system, I might have a more effective way of making these decisions. But I kind of feel like I just want to make them as a card here. Maybe not a card. Like a sheet. Not a sheet. That's this thing. That's not what we want. Just kind of scanning through the list. Okay, I do think we would probably want it to be a card. Oh, there is a separator. I didn't realize that. Maybe I'll use separator for now. Like that. And export goes below the separator. And is there no heading thing? title heading. No. Okay. I mean, that's something you can kind of set up yourself, and maybe I'll do that again as part of the design system at some point. But for now, this is fine. I will add a button. Button. And really, this would be a link button. Is that a thing? Link button? No. Button as child. Link. Ref. And really, this should probably be an A. Just a plain old A. Ref slash API slash DB slash export. And this could be variant primary, right? I guess default, in which case we don't really need it. Okay. Let's see what that does now. If I click on that, API DB export. So first of all, this crashed. What crashed? Panic, reached unreachable code. Awesome. Have y'all heard about the thing where a bun is getting rewritten in Rust? Like they did a PR to rewrite it in Rust using AI. It's originally in Zig. And it's like in 1 week, the AI wrote like 1 million lines of Rust code. And then they just like merged that PR. It's not the current live version yet, I don't think. It's still like a canary, but seems like eventually Bun will be written in Rust. I wonder if that's going to make some of these like weird panic type things less common, or if it's actually going to introduce more issues. I don't know. Like that, like what caused that? I don't know. Anyway, so we're running into a problem here. What is the problem? The problem is this. So let's look here. We require this user session, right? And what this is looking for is a bearer token in your authorization header. Where is that coming from? Normally, this is coming from the use API hook. But in this case, because we're doing a link directly, which is kind of what you want to do in order to get the browser to download something, it's not going through the hook. Kind of makes me want to try. I wonder if this will work. If I do like const API equals use API. And then this would be, instead of this, maybe I'll kind of comment that. We would do like on click, use API, or no, just API. DB export, right? Oh no, we do include the /API in there, okay. So I think this is not going to work. It's going to authenticate, but it's not going to trigger the browser to actually do the download that we want. Let's see if that's the case. Also get rid of the as child. So let's open up the network tab and see what happens here. Click download. So see, it did the export. And in this case, we got the proper response here. This is the binary representation of our SQLite database. It's kind of cool. We could actually see that SQLite tag in the binary there, hex encoded over here. But when we're downloading this via fetch, it's not respecting the content disposition, which should be what tells the browser to download it. So how can we get that to work? There's two options here that I could see. One of them is we go with the link approach, and we need to figure out a way to get a bearer header into that link. And I don't know if that's actually possible. The other way is go with the fetch approach and trigger a download in the browser through JavaScript, which I think is possible. It's not the most straightforward way of doing it, though. So let me see, like if I do like a link with bearer token. Bunch of useless stuff there. I don't think it's going to be possible to do it that way. So let's do creating file download from URL with fetch. Okay. This is kind of what I have seen before, so this makes sense to me. With the fetch response, we get the blob, and then you need to do this weird create object URL thing, and then download that. Okay, whatever. Let's just do this for starters here. So first of all, we will need to, let's create a use callback here. Const handle download db equals use callback. And this is going to be an async function. Okay, it's already imported. This will depend on API. So we will do const resp equals await that. Const blob equals await resp.blob. Right? So why is this an any? I don't really like that. This should be, oh, okay, because it's returning resp.json. So let's add a parse JSON Boolean that will default to true if it's not specified. Or let's say parse response. So now fetch API options. I don't know if this will work. Does work. Okay. So we're going to say if not parse response, let's do it this way. If options.parse response equals false, return resp. So in this way, we're defaulting the value of parse response to true. If somebody passes in true, or if you don't pass in anything and this defaults to undefined, undefined does not strictly equal false. It's going to return resp.json. So this way we're adding a parameter without affecting any of our other callers. And then over here, we need to include parse response false. And then, you know, this resp.blob thing is still annoying that we don't have the right types here, though. I wonder if there's a way to promise options dot no, this isn't going to work. I don't think. Type of options parse response false. Yeah, let's just not worry about that. We can just leave it as any here. And then over here, we're just going to have to do resp response. Okay. So anyway, we've got our blob, and then we do like create blob URL, right? What is it? URL dot create blob URL or object URL blob const object URL. And then we would do location dot assign file. Right? So that should be more or less what we want. And let's just see how that works. Oh yeah, and then this needs to be, this could just be handle download DB. Oh yeah, and that needs to be in the squiggly brackets. All right, download it. Hey, it downloaded it. The problem is the name, the file name is not what we want. So how can we fix that? Object URL is just a string. location.assign is not going to allow us to add a header, is it? There must be a better way. I wonder if the AI has anything to say about this. It's suggesting the invisible anchor element approach. Is that how this works? What does this library do? Yeah, it's doing the same anchor thing. Okay, so we might as well just do that ourselves. So I might copy this. And the file name here is going to be it's going to be set by the content disposition. But that's not, we're not going to actually know that really, right? Like this content disposition thing. We're not going to specify this custom header here because this isn't doing anything and it's not going to work. And then over here, we're just going to put that in here like that. Okay. So what is this doing? We're creating the blob file, creating the object URL based on the blob file. We don't want to assign the location. Get rid of that. We're creating an anchor element. Note that this is not put in the DOM yet, although we do put it in the DOM down here. Set the ref, set the download, add it into the thing, click the thing, and then remove the thing, and then revoke the thing. Seems like that's pretty accurate. One sec. One sec. Okay. I might have to end my stream early here. We shall see. So let's see how well this works now. Okay. Click download database. Boom. It downloads it. We get the thing. Now let's actually try opening that up and seeing if it works. So I'm going to launch Table Plus. And I'm going to do this on my second monitor here. We're going to do a new SQLite connection. I'm going to select a file. from my downloads. So this is what we've got now. Like this. Test. Analytics. And connect. And yeah, we've got our database. So I don't super like that it downloads the users table. Technically, the password is hashed, but I probably don't want to do that. I wonder if there's a way to not do that. Probably not. I mean, so what we would need to do instead is query the data and download it as like JSON or something. But I kind of like being able to just download the raw SQLite as well instead. But maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should just do like get all events. Right? And you know, we would do something here where it's kind of like I might have to go in a minute, sorry. Let's see if I can just finish this up. So const all data equals dot for const site of all sites. All data site equals string user event array equals get all events site.id and no look back. Is there a way to do it without look back? Not really. I mean, I could just do a look back of infinity. Is that going to work? Site.id. All data. I guess this would be return response.json, all data. Let's just see if this works. So now if I click download, well, it's called SQLite still. Let's fix that. One sec. Okay. All right. So, no, settings page. This would be .json, right? And let's just see what that does now. So it should download a .json file. And if I actually look at this, so the response doesn't have anything in it. That's interesting. Why does a response not have anything in it? Okay, let's see what that. So the infinity thing is not working, first of all. But second of all, even if that does work, our response doesn't seem to actually have the data that I would expect it to have either. Why is that? Not sure. Not sure, but one thing is this infinity thing is not working. And what I'm kind of seeing here is there is a limitation to the way that our APIs are designed, which is making it hard to export all of the data. They're just not designed for that. Like this get all events function expects this look back to be specified. You know what I mean? So really, what I'm probably going to do is this. Export events. And this will take no parameters and it'll just return an array of events. And this is just going to do a query over everything. Right? Because this is kind of the API that we actually want. And then over here, this will just do export events. Right? And I don't think this has to be async, does it? I don't think so. Okay, so let's see what that looks like now. Download database. So now our export here, again, is empty. But that's interesting. It shows up here, just not here. Not sure what's up with that. So what is this called? Nanalytics, blah, 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 .json. Okay. So if we do a cat downloads nanalytics something. So this one is ending in 2784. So it's 795 272 2784. Nope. Let's just do it like this. Copy that. Okay, so we've got all of our events. That feels like a slightly safer way of doing the export to not actually have the user data in there. So let us commit this and just confirm what we've got here. Export events. This we don't really need anymore. Yeah, we don't really need this anymore. So I think I can take that out. It's a little bit more efficient to keep it in though, because we don't by leaving it in, we're not parsing the JSON from the response and then having to call JSON.stringify on that again to get it back into a blob URL for the download. So I actually like to leave that in here. Our site settings page and our settings page where we're adding this functionality here. And this we can get rid of. Oh yeah, okay. Get rid of that. And it's not pretty. I know it's not pretty. We'll work on that later. Add db download, db export. Okay, but I actually have to go. Something came up, so shorter stream today, but I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.